お前はどこまで見えている。俺の死に様か。
On the border of the land of fire and sound. It was the third year of the Cold War between the countries of fire and sound. Although the losses were insignificant, they remained tangible. If it had been a simple war, someone would have won long ago and everyone would have breathed a sigh of relief, recuperating, but no. Everyone needs this understatement, blasphemy. Even now, 3 years later, people on the border were afraid of the night, afraid to live. Because of this, they sent letters to Konoha every day with a request to send at least some shinobi for protection. This time, the best of the younger generation were assigned to the mission, which made the residents seriously think about the situation in which they were now, a heavy downpour, as if out of spite, limited visibility, which affected the speed of the task. However, the three ninjas raced faster and faster through the wet trees, as if afraid of being late. How is this possible? One of the guys asked in surprise, jumping from branch to branch. Anyway, our mission is to stop them, the girl calmly replied, squeezing the kunai harder. Sasuke-chan, can we rest? Another guy running ahead of his partner asked. I'm not tired, came the cold reply. Fatigue, pain in the legs, cold, but Uchiha Sasuke does not give up so easily. Especially if she has a meeting with her brother ahead of her. Yes, with the same brother who destroyed her clan, family, and, in the end, broke her life. And now, after years of waiting, this moment has come, the time of revenge. An evil smile flashed across the young girl's face. It's all over today. This smile did not slip from Naruto's vigilant gaze. The blonde man shifted his gaze forward. Uzumaki remembered that conversation with his partner and sadness flashed in his eyes. He understood how much Sasuke wanted revenge, but he realized even more that this was not the way out. There is no hiding from the pain. An irresistible desire to help a friend tormented the guy, but he would not be able to stop her. The icy rain completely soaked the clothes, not giving at least some opportunity to warm up. The body is tired, however, for elite shinobi from the land of fire, this is not a hindrance. A little more and a glade opened up to the view. It is immediately followed by another country. Let's split up, the only girl in the team whispered with cold lips. No, Saku did not have time to finish, as he was stopped by his friend and eternal rival, Naruto Uzumaki. A rustle was heard from the bushes opposite, and team number 7 immediately froze in combat positions, waiting. 5 seconds later, Kabuto came out, who, as they knew, held the position of Deputy Kage of Sound. Behind him was an incredibly large bag in which something was moving. Without thinking twice, Uchiha threw a kunai at him, which she had been warming in her hands for so long. By inertia, the guy jumped back, but dropped the bag. There was a heavy thump, and from the bag came, crying, no. The ninja of sound screamed and hurried after the lost one. However, Naruto was already standing in that place, using teleportation jutsu. Blocking the way of the owner of the bag, the young jonin stretched out his hand forward. The chakra immediately began to accumulate in her, creating a powerful technique, Rasengan. Kabuto started to step back in a panic, but when he saw that one of the ninjas began to open the bag, he gathered his thoughts. Where will Orochimaru's meeting with Akatsuki take place? The son of the fourth Hokage strictly asked the question, having formed the technique to the end. Is it true that they will help you? Sasuke couldn't resist. Black eyes filled with Sharingan, and another kunai appeared in his hands. My god, Haruno said, there are children here, alive. Everyone turned at his voice. Realizing what the unfulfilled task would be, Kabuto rushed to the bag without thinking. A sharp pain was felt in the shinobi of Sound's hand, why he did not have time to take what he wanted and jumped away. Pulling the kunai from the brush, the guy wanted to fold the seal, but was attacked again. Thanks to his reflexes, Rasengan flew near him, and all his power was directed at the oak tree. The sturdy tree shattered into small splinters. Kabuto swallowed and stared at the attacker in shock. Naruto's face was full of excitement and a desire to fight. The blonde turned his gaze to Uchiha, noticing that kunai began to sparkle in the girl's hand. And every second it was noticeably stronger. Knowing that he could not get out of this mess, Kabuto, with his injured hand, folded the seal and disappeared with the sound of a clap, leaving team number 7 with his bag. At this time, Saku Haruno pulled all the children out of the dusty bag, giving them first aid. His partners came up to him. "How are the kids?" Naruto asked gently. There was no trace of the hot-tempered and unrestrained Uzumaki. "Maybe we should catch up with him?" The brunette asked the team leader, but the guy himself was hugging the kids with might and main. "That's not what we came for," Naruto purred, picking up 2 blonde babies. "And not for that," the girl said sternly, but she was ignored. "Who is so small and nice?" Folding his lips into a bow, Uzumaki said affectionately, pulling the cheeks of a 4-year-old boy. "Sewing in the ass," the boy replied, biting his finger. "What?" The future Hokage did not understand. Naruto. Saku turned with excitement, getting up from his seat and approaching the blonde. "These are not ordinary children, these are Akatsukis. What?" The guy repeated his question again. "I still don't fully understand how it happened, but it's Akatsuki. How did you find out about this?" The brunette was surprised. "They have seals on them." The pink-haired guy pointed to the drawing on the hand of 2 blondes that Uzumaki was holding. "It is likely that these 10 children are Akatsukis. The description fits. So they should be killed right away." "Then it means," Uchiha turned her gaze to the other children. "One child caught my eye, who differed from the others in that he did not cry. Instead, he chose to look around. His black hair immediately reminded her of one person, and those bottomless, full of darkness eyes, turned off her consciousness." Sasuke came closer, sat down next to the boy, carefully examining him. The kid turned in her direction and just smiled. However, without thinking for a second, Uchiha squeezed her hands around the child's neck. "You will answer to me for everything," she shouted, squeezing her hands tighter and tighter around her thin neck. "Sasuke, Sasuke." The blonde man shouted, appearing next to him for a moment, trying to unclench the girl's hands. "How do we know that this is really Akatsuki? It's just Saku's assumptions." Naruto tried to calm his partner down. "We need to take them to grandma, she will make a decision." These words really affected the brunette, and she let the boy go. The child himself immediately ran to Uzumaki, hugging the guy tightly. My eyes filled with tears, and loud crying began. The blonde man picked up a small miracle and looked reproachfully at Uchiha. She just snorted and walked away, putting her hands in the lock. Annoying, she thought. "Well, everyone takes 3 children, and in Konoha," Naruto said calmly, taking 2 more boys and a girl in his arms, and then jumped onto a branch. When the children saw that they had to choose between a strange kid with pink hair and the one who was strangling another boy a couple of minutes ago, they immediately began to cry in panic and began to reach for the tree where the team leader was standing. Uzumaki had no choice but to create clones and carry all the children himself, all the way, all 88 kilometers, in the rain. Konoha. Deep night reigned over the village. An idyll of silence and emptiness. Only a single bright moon illuminated the sleeping Konoha, not allowing her to be completely enveloped in darkness. It seemed that all the people hid, afraid to see the 11 faces that were quietly walking through the village. 9 identical silhouettes, a guy and a girl, slowly walked to the Hokage residence with very unexpected gifts. Each of Naruto's clones wearily dragged one child, and only Naruto himself, too, the very boy who was strangled by his partner and the girl who immediately attracted Uzumaki. Her hair, like lilac petals in the moonlight, gave her a kind of fabulousness that made the team leader smile involuntarily. Are these kids murderers? They seem so defenseless, the blonde man thought. Inhaling the cold air, the guy looked at the sky. If they are really Akatsuki, grandma will order them to be killed, another sigh. What kind of Hokage am I if I can't even protect the children? Pain flashed in his eyes. I'm an outcast, too. Everyone hated me, will they suffer the same fate? Naruto shifted his gaze forward, a large building spread out in front of his eyes. There is no turning back. Hokage's office. You acted rashly, said a woman sitting in a large armchair. The proof that these children are like Akatsuki is unreliable, and the seal is not an indicator. Tsunade paused, rising from her chair. That kid, she pointed to the boy who had hair the color of the sun, is very similar to Uzumaki. And what, should I say right away that this is Naruto? And for this, you did not fulfill the mission, and even brought other people's children here? She looked reproachfully at team number 7. Her gaze landed on Haruno Saku. The guy drooped and lowered his head. Hokage just frowned and sat back down. There was no severity or accusation in her voice, but it was clear to everyone that the fifth was angered. Children to the orphanage, and go home. For a failed mission, you will be punished, but later. Bab. Tsunade-sama, the team leader, immediately corrected himself when he saw the woman's clenched fist. As the team commander, I am ready to be punished myself and personally take the children to the orphanage, Uzumaki said confidently, loudly, and firmly, looking into the Hokage's eyes. Don't worry, you'll get your own. In full, an elderly woman emphasized the latter, crossed her arms over her chest. For a moment, pity flashed in her eyes. Okay, I trust you with the children. And no nonsense, Uzumaki. And you too, she turned to Saku and Sasuke, keep an eye on him, yes. Immediately, the answer, after bowing, everyone left the fifth's office in the blink of an eye. Dawn is coming soon. The stars were gradually disappearing in the sky, and the silvery moon was almost hidden behind the horizon. The ground was covered with cold dew, and the air was cool. Bright rays are about to cut through the sky, and dawn will come, but for now everyone will hide in the dark night. This is exactly what Naruto was doing, sadly walking down the street to the orphanage. He was followed by 8 of his clones and partners, but the guy walked as if he was alone. He did not want to part with the children to the point of pain, but, nevertheless, he understood that he simply had no way out. It was quite cold, but Jonin didn't notice that either, although he gave his cloak to the children, wrapping them up. The body was covered with goosebumps from the cold. A loud cough was still heard on the empty streets of Konoha. A couple more steps and a shelter. You're free for today, Uzumaki said calmly, turning to his teammates. You've only been in command for a month, and you behave like a complete one, Saku. Uchiha interrupted sternly. He is our commander, you have just been given an order. Deign to do it. The girl respectfully bowed her head in front of the blonde and headed towards her house. But we were ordered, the guy groaned, resentfully following the brunette with his eyes. It seems that you once wanted to see me off. I'm giving you a chance, Sasuke said calmly, slowing down her pace. Sasuke-chan, Haruno moaned happily and ran after the love of his life. Naruto chuckled slightly. There was sincere gratitude to her friend in that smile. A girl moved in the guy's arms. Her lips curled, and her eyes squeezed shut harder. The heart of the future Hokage shrank. Naruto Uzumaki's house. Morning. As soon as the sun appeared in the window of a 2-story house, the curtain was drawn. The owner of the dwelling himself yawned languidly and turned to the other side. The room was silent. This strange shinobi. It's too quiet. Opening his sleepy eyes, Uzumaki sat up, and immediately a child's cry rang out in the room. And everyone, as it turned out, who was on the bed, ran away, trying to hide from surprise. The blonde jumped up and began to look at the room in shock. All the walls, furniture and himself, as it turned out later, were painted in all the colors of the rainbow. Databeo. The guy screamed and grabbed his head. Something sticky poured on his hair. Afraid to imagine what it was, Naruto looked at his hands. They were smeared with chocolate. Restraining the lot in himself, Shinobi began to look for clothes that surprised him no less with their condition. A stained, torn, painted, and smelly t-shirt lay in a vase. However, this was not the limit of the children's imagination. As it turned out later, the pants, in addition to the above, were also burnt. Uzumaki gritted his teeth to keep from cursing. Therefore, smiling wider, the young father of 10 children began to call his children to him. The result was 0. Remembering that he had recently studied the biography of Akatsuki, the blond man began to call everyone by name. Haiden? Heidenchick. I have something, he purred affectionately. You're fucking. It was heard from the closet. I don't know, ahem. Naruto coughed and opened the door. In front of him sat a naked boy of 4 years old and not a nail. Sighing, the future Hokage reached out to the child. With what? Sato. This is not a toilet to be occupied. What? Jonan screamed and grabbed the child, quickly ran to the bathroom. All the way that Naruto carried the child, the boy, without ceasing, left not the most pleasant impression about his movement, but immediately stopped marking the path as soon as he was seated on the toilet. Crying bitterly, Uzumaki leaned on the locker. Something gurgled at the bathroom, from which the guy jumped back. There was another boy sitting there, the same age as Haiden, but with black hair. The blonde remembered this child, because it was him who was strangled by Sasuke. Itachick, honey, you can't sit in cold water. Naruto took a towel from the shelf and wrapped the boy, taking him in his arms. Why do you need foam? He was surprised, but then realized that the less you know, the longer you will live. 2 out of 10 were found, the shinobi went on, dragging these 2 with him. After them, there was Zetsu, who was hiding under the blanket, then Pain, proudly coming out from behind the flower pot, with the words, I found myself. Then Kakuzu came out of nowhere when Uzumaki said he had found the money. After Deidara from the kitchen nightstand, Sasori was found behind him behind the doors. Tobi came out for the promised ice cream, already chewing something. Konan was the last to be found, not even thinking about hiding, she was just watching TV, sighing with relief. The blonde carried everyone into the bedroom. After putting them on the sofa, Naruto counted the children once again. 9, that's it, stop. How is everyone? The guy asked himself, weren't there 10 of them? He clutched his head again, forgetting that his hands were covered in chocolate. Quickly running up to the records of the last mission, the commander of team number 7 began to reread. Deidara Tsukuri, blonde with bright, so, that's not it. Uzumaki began flipping through thin pieces of paper. Oh, Kisame Hashikage, gray skin, small round eyes, gills on his face and shoulders. How could I not find such a child? He was surprised. Pulling out his old children's clothes from the closet, Naruto began to dress the children, analyzing where he hadn't looked yet. If the kid is missing, then what kind of commander is he? The children tried with all their might to fend off the unfortunate nanny, who was called Naruto Uzumaki, which was accompanied by endless screams, hysterics, tears, mats, and a fight. No matter how hard Naruto tried, it was not in his power to dress at least one child. Why, even the most obedient Itachi, and he managed to make clones, and this at the age of 4, who ran in all directions, then trying to hide, then just run away and not catch anyone's eye. Well, that's Itachi's way. Being tortured and enraged, the young father collapsed on the bed. My head ached terribly, which did not allow any tempting idea to come up. Without thinking twice, Uzumaki solved the problem, as always, with clones. In principle, it has long been known that Naruto has one solution for all everyday problems. Shadow cloning. A second and a bang was heard in the bedroom, accompanied by smoke that appeared from nowhere, and a dozen blondes became in the room. So, Naruto immediately decided to give orders, you 3 will buy a lot of toys. And you, he pointed to the next group, go for groceries and cook. You 5 are to clean up, he turned to the others, how many of you are, 7? Look for Kisame. Get out of the skin, but I need to find him. The future Hokage once again used his favorite technique, creating 8 copies of himself. Keep an eye on them. Pointing at the children, the chief strictly ordered and went towards the bathroom. And I'm in the shower. Naruto tried to wash off the paints, ketchup, markers, and chocolate. Using darts from the dishes, half an hour later, Uzumaki took off the top layer of skin. A mournful cry rang out over the house. Running out in his underpants with a shower, the owner of the family mansion immediately got his foot into something sticky. The buzz that was happening on the ground floor immediately rang in my ears. Biting his lip, the guy hurried down. And there was a rout and chaos. 4 clones were running after children, 2 were passed out, 1 was under the influence of Jinjutsu, and the last one was unknown word. Toby, spit it out. Spit it out. One of the clones shouted, shaking the black-haired boy. Spit out the earth. The clone was not discouraged. Uzumaki turned his gaze to the scream and saw how the child stuffed another handful of dirt from the lawn into his mouth. It seems that a copy of the blonde is about to fall asleep. Sasori. A shout from behind Naruto caught him off guard, causing him to rush to the side as if scalded. Turning around, Uzumaki noticed how a boy with short scarlet hair was standing with a nail near the outlet, and the clone was trying to persuade the boy to give him the piece of iron. You're a good boy, give your uncle a carnation. No, the boy said calmly and coolly, and stuck a nail into the socket. Instantly pushing Sasori away, the clone grabbed the nail to quickly choose, but it was too late. 105 volts went through his body, the hair on the clone's body stood up, and the copy itself twitched for the last time, and then disappeared. An electric wave passed through the body of the original, and the future Hokage, like no one else, felt it on his own skin. And these children are 4 years old, and what will happen next? Naruto sighed sadly, asking himself a rhetorical question. But I am the future Hokage. I never give up. I didn't think it would come to this. Sexy but jutsu, the chief said, folding the seal. There was another wave of dust in the room. In a few seconds, a gorgeous blonde with a gorgeous body appeared in the room. All the attention was immediately focused on her. Ahem, the blonde coughed in embarrassment, modestly pressing her finger to her lip. When you paid attention to me, I wanted to, gova gova, boja boja. A squeaky voice shouted out of nowhere, laughing. Uzumaki recognized Haiden in that voice. All the children started laughing and pointing at the girl. The idea failed. So, they really have a child's mind. And I was hoping. Naruto folded the seal again. But instead of appearing in his underpants, he was already fully dressed. 3 clones appeared in the doorway with large bags in their hands. On time, the chief turned to them. Did you buy clothes for the children, did you ask? Barely dragging the bags into the room, the 3 were surprised. The children immediately froze. Not out of fear that they will be stuffed into the bag again, but out of an irrepressible desire to find out what is in them. Buy clothes, quickly, ordered Naruto. You are the 7 that were looking for Kisame, where is he? 3 clones immediately appeared near him, one of them was holding a sleepy boy. Uzumaki shifted his gaze to the child, who was not similar in description to Kisame Hashigake. Who is this? He asked sternly. The one you told us to look for. Kisame. We found him in the bathroom on the 1st floor. The original looked closely at the boy. Blue, hair sticking up, gray skin. Uzumaki realized that the child did not look like an adult, because he was still very young. And most of those children who were now in front of him did not look like themselves at all in adulthood. But perhaps they are just Akatsuki-like children after all, or maybe they are, just because they have not always been ruthless killers of the S rank. All this pushed the future Hokage to the correctness of his decision to take the children to himself. So, whoever made them small may have wanted to kill them easily or even wanted to raise them in their own way. So the scout was right, the Akatsukis really wanted to help Orochimaru end the war, but they didn't know about their help, Naruto took the baby in his arms in a frightened manner. The boy tensed and shrank. Don't be afraid, Kisame, Uzumaki smiled affectionately. From this grin, the future swordsman of the mist relaxed a little. Do you know who I am? The commander of team number 7 said even more gently. Dad? The boy asked modestly, looking into Naruto's blue eyes. No, Dad. Exclaimed the blonde man, whose name was Deidara. Quickly running up to Dad and hugging, the boy began to cry. Bitter tears poured down her small cheeks and dripped onto Uzumaki's orange pants. The guy tensed and stared in shock at the boy, who was clinging to him more and more. My gaze fell on the shining pentagram on the bomber's arm. Shifting his gaze to the other children, Naruto saw that their hand also began to glow. A moment later, all the children started crying and running to him with the words, Daddy. So if someone calls himself Dad in front of them, then the seal makes them believe that he really is their father. Therefore, I was right, Orochimaru wanted to raise an invincible shinobi army. I must tell Babu. And what do I say? I'm sorry, I didn't fulfill my promise and took the children to me, but don't worry, they perceive me as a father. Looking at the ceiling, the blonde sighed bitterly. Hush, hush, Naruto said softly, crouching down next to the children. Stroking the kids' heads, the son of the 4th Hokage smiled. Don't cry, Dad doesn't want to see your tears. He decided to play along with them until the strange jutsu is removed. And, in order not to injure the child's psyche, I decided to do it a little later. Who is my hungriest? What is it? He asked enthusiastically. Me, the children cried, smiling through their tears. It's good that children's moods change so quickly. Naruto smiled to himself, and picking up 2 more children on his shoulders, stepped into the kitchen, where his 3 clones were supposed to cook breakfast. Ugh, porridge. Seeing the table set, the children buzzed. Well, the porridge is delicious. Naruto encouraged the children not with a special desire to try this porridge himself, however, making a joyful face, the same porridge hater swallowed and stroked his stomach. Yummy. I don't fuck, Haydn cut off without appeal, the fuck is counted, but stupid alone. The blonde pointedly decided to throw out a plate of porridge, but was intercepted by his father. Putting the mischief maker's bowl on the table, the head of the house again pushed a small bowl of oatmeal towards him. After that, Naruto was planted and the rest of the guys. But, unfortunately, no one came close to eating. Sighing, Uzumaki realized that the S-rank mission was nothing compared to raising children. Scratching his head, the guy looked at the replenishment in the house. Realizing that if he forces at least one of the children to try porridge, everyone else can also do it. His gaze stopped on one of the dark-haired men who was still picking at his food. Itachi. The future Hokage screamed so that the poor child jumped in surprise. Eat, my dear, the guy has already sung. Black eyes full of irritability shifted their gaze to the head of the family, and plump lips said, It's bitter, the boy said, not wanting to offend, but also not intending to lie, and again lowered his gaze into the bowl. After thinking for a second, Uzumaki reached for the sugar. Scooping up a large spoonful of white sweets, the blonde noticed the joy on the boy's face. More? The commander of Konoha's elite team asked and received a happy nod in response. Smiling at his small victory, the blue-eyed man scooped up more sugar. On the 9th spoon, the young father decided to stop, as his new son did not stop waving his head and asking for more. From the outside, it seemed that Itachi felt what was going on in the depths of his soul. Naruto. Of course they weren't, and probably won't become close, but the boy was sincerely glad that he had such a guardian. Uchiha Itachi, like no one else, was one of those who hides a kind heart behind a dull and serious look. And he was beginning to get into Naruto, which, though it was imperceptible, was palpable. After looking at the other children, but they did not even try to take up the spoon, Naruto decided to look for an individual approach to each Kuzuya, 100 cash now, 100 after the meal, the boy interrupted indifferently, drilling his eyes into the porridge. A quiet sigh sounded from the future Hokage. With sadness on his face, the blond man took out a green bill from his wallet. Nice to do business with you, Dad. Seeing the money, the boy with very long brown hair smiled contentedly and immediately perked up, grabbing the money and starting to eat. The father of the family went further. Sasori, what should I do to make you eat porridge? I'm worried about some questions. The boy replied thoughtfully, why is the sky blue? Where does the sun disappear at night? Why am I cold in winter? Where do the stars come from? Why does the grass dry up? How to make candy? Why don't cats fly? Wait, Uzumaki slowed down his son, just one question. And the second after porridge. Okay, the boy paused again, as if searching for the most important question. Where is Mom? Naruto took a step back from surprise. All the children looked at him with interest. A tremor and panic passed through the blonde's body. He himself began to wonder, and where is Mom? I mean, who's Mom? Naruto of course knew who his mother was, but he didn't know who it was, Mom. Uzumaki grew by himself. He understood these kids. It was self-defense. With all his efforts to become a real father for the children, Uzumaki was well aware that they would not accept him so easily. Children can understand little at this age, they rely more on the amount of heat given to them. Now they rejected Naruto, just like he did in the distant childhood of teachers, but it was to them that he always approached if he caused trouble. He had confidence in them and a distant note of love. Therefore, even if they had not seen their mother and did not consider him their father, he decided that he would not give up. These children are former Nukanins, they were ruthless, but everyone has their own story, their own justification, their own pain, their own retribution. Seeing this and taking the reins of government over the formed family, the man wanted to fix everything, to give them the warmth that, like him, they lack at the moment, to give them a family. I'm for Mom. Eat porridge, dear, the father smiled sincerely. After receiving the answer, the red-haired man plunged into thought and also started porridge, thinking about the next question. And Adara has already eaten, the boy joyfully reported exactly like Uzumaki himself. Still recovering from the previous surprise, the blonde turned to the voice of his child. Noting with surprise that his bowl was really empty, like the other children, Zetsu, Pain and Haiden, Naruto narrowed his eyes. Something is clearly wrong here. He turned his vigilant gaze to the happy boy with black hair, who was licking his bowl, and with his free hand, Conan was reaching for the bowl. Toby. The young father howled reproachfully and took away the bowl. It's going to be bad for you. Emphasizing the last word, Naruto looked at his son menacingly, but at the same time with emotion. The boy froze, looked at his empty cup and began to cry loudly. Why? Roaring at the top of his voice to the whole house, the kid, who thought of himself as a deprived and not cute Toby to anyone, glanced at his father with a kind of reproach and continued to cry. Okay, Uzumaki panicked, and immediately handed his son a whole pot of porridge. Having stopped crying, the boy, shuddering from an overabundance of emotions, chattered his teeth, trying to calm down. Toby, what are you doing? The frightened Uzumaki was alarmed. Eat native. As much as you want, and if you want, I'll cook more. Trying to smile without trembling, the man vowed never to do strict prohibitions to children again. And almost 2 minutes later, having secured peace of mind, the newly made father could not get enough of his son bursting porridge. That sigh again. But there is no time to be sad, the owner of the house convinced himself, so, giving his brightest smile, the guy approached the only girl in this company. Kanushka, dear, he said affectionately, placing the stolen bowl next to her. Eat, love, I don't want porridge, I want jelly. The girl interrupted him sternly, folding her arms on her chest. Naruto smiled out of the corner of his lips, stroking her head. For some reason this girl reminded him of Sasuke. The guy himself did not understand why he remembered it right now, but when they had their first mission, his partner refused to eat ramen in a local cafe and ordered jelly. This memory was so bright, warm. Naruto thought about it. Why did such a seemingly unremarkable memory make him not only smile, but also appear a prenatal blush on his face? Without having time to think about it properly, the guy was distracted by the clones that had just arrived running around the room after the children, who thought that the young father was playing with them again. Uzumaki kept trying to dress them up. Almost sobbing, Naruto slapped his forehead loudly. The old life seemed like a paradise with today. Squatting down, the blonde wanted to howl, scream and break everything, but the gentle nature allowed him to let only a stingy male tear. There was a loud ringing throughout the house, and in a few seconds there was a knock on the door. The future Hokage twitched and looked around anxiously. It was as if the third war had swept through his house. Clenching his fists, the son of the legendary warriors of Konoha frowned, considering his actions. The knocking on the door started getting louder. So, let's play. My father exclaimed joyfully, barely smiling. Whoever hides better will get ice cream. And 100 yen, it was heard from somewhere, but Naruto didn't have to turn around, or recognize by voice, to tell who it was. Whoever I find last will get ice cream, 100 yen, an answer to any question, matches, more food, sweets, an additional toy and jelly. And the right to sleep next to my father. A quiet voice near the blonde caught him by surprise. Looking down, Uzumaki met the gaze of small, shining eyes. Kisame, the father stroked, recently, his son on the head. Of course, it was said so gently and affectionately that the boy was embarrassed and only nodded his head. So, the team of tigers. It seemed to the future Hokage a good idea to make a team with children and give them just such a name. Get ready and hide. Easily opening the oak doors, the blonde man looked behind them. You've been a long time, a woman's voice was heard with a note of irritability. And you are persistent, Sasuke. Naruto smiled at the guest, opening the doors completely. Will you let me in? As always, the brunette missed the joke. I haven't cleaned up. What are you, a woman, worried about this? The guy could have objected a lot, but he knew his girlfriend, and that she would always find an answer to all his words. She was too smart. Smiled at the latter, Uzumaki went outside, closing the doors behind him. I'm sorry, but my place is very untidy. I'm kind of embarrassed. If you have Hinata there, you could have said right away, and not hide her. For a moment it seemed to the blonde that sadness flashed in the eyes of his partner. Sasuke, if I didn't know you, I would have thought that you were jealous. The future Hokage shut up when he saw Uchiha's very sad look, but the girl immediately turned away. I broke up with her a month ago. Naruto scratched his head in embarrassment. He did not understand why he justified himself. Why? You loved her? The brunette asked a very exciting and very strange question for her. Well, yes, but when we started dating, it wasn't like that. Instead of passion, there was only awkwardness and confusion. The two of us have been waiting for this relationship too much. Then maybe, the girl hesitated, an inconspicuous blush appeared on her pale face. We could, fuck you. A squeaky voice screamed above them, from which two shinobi jerked and pulled out a kunai. A 4-year-old boy with snow-white hair and bright lilac eyes was looking at them from a second-floor window. Hiden. Father barked from below, showing his fist, but the boy did not pay any attention to him and threw his underpants out the window. Then he climbed himself. That you, he said and jumped out. A good reaction, a trained body, an analytical mindset, helped Uzumaki a lot to catch the boy almost near the ground. Anger and rage as if by hand removed from the excitement for the son. Therefore, instead of yelling and giving a good slap on the head to the prankster, the father only hugged the boy tightly, gasping for air. Was there panic and fear in his head if he hadn't made it? However, Naruto did not have time to think about the carelessness of the head of the new clan. An irritated was heard nearby. As if after an icy shower, the blonde turned to his partner. By the way, the fifth is calling you. And now I understand why. He, the commander of team number 7 laughed frighteningly. Sasuke, it's not what you thought. On the face of the fourth son flashed panic, horror, confusion, and anxiety for the children. Well, well. I came to bring you a message to Tsunade. I quote, "If this daredevil will not be with me in half an hour, let him say goodbye to the dream of becoming the Hokage of this village." What? What didn't you say earlier? The daredevil panicked even more. I forgot, the girl said calmly, running into the house with the boy. Naruto started running around the house, not knowing what to do. In a few seconds, he pulled the Uchiha into the house, handing her the boy. "Don't even think about it, I hate children," the girl snapped sternly. Seeing the sad blue eyes of her partner, she was a little embarrassed, but still did not give in. "And don't ask." Turned away. Uchiha groaned the strongest shinobi of the village. The latter from the clan was even more confused, but did not turn to the commander. "Well, Paziazia. This white t-shirt suits you so well, and these black pants, which so emphasize slender legs and elastic ass." "Shut up." Sasuke blushed and lowered her head in embarrassment. "And this hairstyle is driving me crazy. I can bet that by touching these black hair, you can truly know what softness and good. The girl screamed convulsively. "I'll stay with the kids." Naruto always knew that his partner finds it difficult to accept compliments, especially of a sexual nature. Therefore, exulting in his one more victory today, he happily handed the boy into her arms that he had been looking at it calmly all this time, and ran out the door. However, in a few seconds he returned and happily shouted to the whole house, "Mom came." From nowhere, children started running to the shocked Sasuke and hugging, shouting, "Mom! Uzumaki, I'll kill you," with lightning speed, not sparing his legs, himself and other objects that came in his way. Naruto Uzumaki raced to his father's mansion with a sad expression on his face. After all, Lightning Jr. was worried about a lot of problems right now that had fallen on him at the wrong time. Not so much time as he became the commander of Squad Number 7, and for his further growth, Naruto only had to complete 3 more tasks. After all, the guy is the first to the rank of Hokage. A week, too, and the title is already in his pocket. However, the kind heart of the young heir of the fourth not only did not allow to fulfill the mission properly, but also to anger Tsunade, and to question her choice. An hour earlier. "Did you call, Tsunade-sama?" the guy just asked when he appeared. Yes, the answer was brief. The woman did not even turn to the guest, looking at everything outside the window of the house. The muffled rustle of paper broke the perfect silence in the office. The young deputy was sorting through documents, looking for something. After a minute's search, without saying anything, she handed the letter to her boss and left the office. The fifth shifted her disinterested, but angry, gaze to the papered 8 missions of rank C, 12, B, 43, A. 2S. The best results in the academy, the carrier of the 9-tailed, the son of the 4th Hokage. It was perfect. Without regret, the woman tore up Naruto's characterization. White pieces of paper fell softly to the floor. "If not for your mistake. I'm listening to your excuse. He's not here. Does this mean that you understand what you have lost and why?" "Yes." "Is there anything you want to tell me? Have you changed your mind about becoming a Hokage?" Princess Tsunade clenched her fists, glowering at the blonde youth in front of her. "No. Hokage is the person who puts someone else's life above his own. And blindly protects the last breath of hope. And he never changes his principles and the people who believe in him. This is my ninja way." The woman remained silent, pondering the words that she had just heard. In a few seconds, she returned her gaze to the window. "Do they remember something?" "No. You can be free." For now, after these words, the guy bowed and hurried out of the fifth's office, afraid of heavy objects that could suddenly fly in his direction from the legendary simpleton. Now, the desire to protect children crossed out everything that Naruto had achieved for so long. However, the guy himself did not regret his action for a minute. Except for the fact that at the moment he left his partner alone with these very children, and even with a possible brother, whom Sasuke so dreams of killing, his decision might seem not only strange, but also incorrect. But Uzumaki knew that the heiress of the ancient clan would definitely not do anything to the children, or to her brother. At first glance, it might seem that Uchiha wholeheartedly wants to kill the culprit in the death of the clan, but as a best friend, Naruto understood that Sasuke is not so bloodthirsty. Smart, stubborn, calculating, but not a cold-blooded killer. She will first get the truth, then, perhaps, she will kill. It was a risky act on his part, but the chance to help his girlfriend took its toll. And maybe now Naruto will have to scrub the house from. The guy slapped himself on the cheek and accelerated, afraid of his own thoughts. There was an uncharacteristic noise in the house. Hesitating at the entrance, Uzumaki carefully took hold of the handle. Taking a deep breath, he pushed open the creaking doors. The guy froze with his mouth open. What's going on here? But no one answered him. All the children were rushing back and forth, not paying attention to the arrival of their father. In principle, the head of the family himself was in no hurry to go inside the house and be noticed. Naruto carefully examined the booth. In his opinion, what was going on in the house? And the more he looked at this situation, the more his face turned white. So, Kisame, after you wipe the dust off the cabinet, take your clothes off the floor. Kakuzu, I see that you swept the trash under the carpet. If you work poorly, I will take away the money. Haydn, a young girl of 23 years old, kept saying, giving commands to her new children. 3 more energetic windows, and don't swear. Toby, if you don't stop eating the curtain, you won't get dinner. Pain. Sasuke shouted. A red-haired boy came to her immediately from the kitchen. Work report from your team. Everything is stable in the kitchen, we will finish cleaning soon. The redhead reported quickly, standing in the soldier's stance, in front of the girl. After the kitchen, your team will clean the bedroom, hallway, and bathroom. It will be done, Mom. That is, the commander. Proceed to the execution, the girl said sternly. However, there was still concern and tenderness in her voice. I washed the floor, calmly heard near Uchiha. She turned her head down with interest. I'm listening. Why are the leaves green? Why not blue, or red? There is chlorophyll in the leaves, which makes them green. This is called photosynthesis. What is chlorophyll? The boy mused, scratching his red hair. Put all the books alphabetically on the shelf, then you will get the answer to this question. I can't read. Then by color. The girl put her hands in the lock, proudly examining someone else's work. Smiling easily, the girl did not immediately notice the commander in the doorway. Without waiting for him, Sasuke plucked up the courage to speak, but did not have time. What have you done with the children? The owner of the house appeared right next to her with lightning speed. Is this a Sharingan? Is this blackmail, threats? Calm down. Each child has his own price of work, but everything is within reason. Naruto sighed. But these are only children. Children need discipline, attention. You've only had them for a day, and you've spoiled them so much that they've become unbearable at all. They're so cute, the blonde man said dejectedly, sitting down on the floor. He knew that Sasuke was telling the truth, but still he had too kind a character. Although do we really need reasons to help defenseless children? What did Hokage say? The girl realized that something was tormenting him, and he was definitely not thinking about children right now. My dream flew. I won't become a Hokage like Sakura losing her virginity. I don't think it's that hopeless, Sasuke said softly, crouching down next to the commander. Do you think he can sleep with a girl? Did you see his face? I'm not talking about that right now, Uchiha coughed shyly. Okay, let's go. Apparently the stew has already been cooked there. Oh, can you cook? To be honest, I've never cooked. Now we'll find out. The girl tucked her hair behind her ear, smiling imperceptibly. You know, I'm not hungry. Shut up and follow me. Kids, you too. Naruto Uzumaki's house. 21:37 a.m. Quiet, peaceful, and magical evening with your family. Yes, Naruto could give a lot for such happiness. Being an orphan, since childhood, it is clear that the guy wanted a big and strong family. However, life ordered otherwise. Therefore, while whiling away the evenings all alone, today's day was considered something fabulous, incredible and far away. Plunging into such a sweet dream, called family, the young squad leader smiled happily, enjoying every moment of this evening. And it does not matter that there are not their own children and an unloved girl next to them. Unloved girl? The guy's eyes bulged in shock, turning to his partner, who was just washing the hair of one of the blondes, who resisted and cried all the time. The kid once again said the terrible word and received a slap on the head from his mother. Other children were standing nearby, waiting for their turn, but after what they saw, they only shook their heads, as a sign of sympathy, and took a step back. Uzumaki laughed at such a cute picture, wiping Kisame, who loves water, even more gently, and was the first to agree to swim. The boy smiled affectionately and happily at his dad and hugged his hand. Jinchuriki almost melted from such an act of the kid, and quite humming something to himself, he put on one of the 7 swordsmen with kirigakure, polka dot pajamas. Oh, what a sweetheart, folded his lips into a bow, cooed near the guy Naruto. Camera for me. With a cry, he ran out of the bathroom. 2 seconds later, he burst in with the equipment in his hands. Say cheese. Kisame was shy, but smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The children need to be taken to the dentist. Honey, we need tomorrow. Uzumaki stopped when he realized who he had just called Sunny. Ahem, that is, Sasuke-chan, let's take a walk with the kids on the street tomorrow? They need clean air and some relaxation. Yes, the girl answered shortly, without turning to her commander. However, the owner of the 2-story house noticed how the Uchiha's ears turned treacherously red, dreaming of capturing his partner. When she blushes, the guy bit his lip. An evil smile appeared on the face of the future Hokage. Sasuke-chan, let me take a picture of you. He bent down and whispered softly in my ear. Here you go. The brunette calmly answered him and handed him the boy. Naruto never understood how Uchiha could instantly bring herself back to normal. With a disappointed sigh, he took the boy away. Heidenchick, don't cry. Do you want pancakes? He stroked his wet head carefully, said the father. Are they with Sokavad? Yes. No chocolate at night. Sasuke interrupted their conversation sternly. Zvuka. The boy screamed and wanted to cry again, but noticed that for a second his mother's eyes turned red, fell silent and buried his face in his father's hand. I'll give you some chocolate when she turns away, Naruto whispered. Yed. I hear everything. There was no anger in this remark, but the father and son twitched and stood still, making a face as if they had done nothing wrong. So, who's next? I am, said the red-haired guy, approaching the mother. All the other children hid behind him. The leader is not afraid of anything. Leader, your legs are shaking. Then Cinderella jumped up a tree and quickly ran home through the branches. Since she was a skilled shinobi, Cinderella hid her chakra from the prince so that he could not detect it. The girl felt ashamed that she was not strong enough for the future Hokage, that is, the king. After all, she was never able to go to the Shinobi Academy due to the fact that it is not permissible for women to be ninjas in her clan. Gender discrimination, Sasori muttered sleepily, hugging a soft toy. But she believed that someday she would become a mighty warrior, and then she would be able to save the prince. And he will love her as she loves him. But now the girl was swallowing bitter tears of resentment as she approached her clan estate, while telling a fairy tale. Naruto was shaking Kisame, and Konan next to him sat, on a wide bed, Uchiha, holding Zetsu in her arms, who had become so attached to her for today. At the feet of the girl, curled up in a ball, Tobi was sleeping, sucking a pacifier, so that he would not eat clay, curtain, wall, rug, Deidara's hair, and so on again. Sasuke decided to occupy his mouth with a pacifier. Haiden immediately slept next to the brunette, hugging Kakuzu, who kept pushing the blonde one away. Then, he sleepily commented on Sasuke's fairy tale, practically not understanding what he was saying. After him, Pain was placed at the head, winding Itachi's long hair on his finger. The brunette fell asleep at the beginning of his father's story. And then the king ordered to question all kunoichi. Perhaps one of them lost the kunai that Prin found. They're already asleep, Sasuke interrupted him, laying the boy on the bed and carefully covering him. Oh, I didn't notice. Naruto also laid the two children side by side, gently throwing a blanket over them and gently kissing them on the forehead. The girl admired her partner, and, remembering that this should not be the case, and the feeling that just swept through her heart, does not like the vindictive and cold Uchiha. The brunette got out of bed and hurriedly hurried to the door. I'll see you off. Noticing the retreat of a friend, the guy hurried after her. However, without calculating the strength of the jerk, he almost fell on her, closing his hand, which he successfully leaned on the door. Otherwise he would have run into a tree with his nose, slammed the exit in front of her, leaving her in the room, and even pressing Sasuke to the door with his body. On for a couple of minutes, the teammates froze for some reason, and did not say anything, as if they were not breathing. Naruto couldn't stand it first, moving away from the brunette. The girl stood there a little longer and opened the door. I'm not used to seeing you like this. Which one? Well, feminine, the future Hokage said with a noticeable pause, smiling stupidly. Good night, Uzumaki, Sasuke said coldly and folded the seals. A second later, there was a pop of smoke in the room. You screwed up, Dad, came a voice from the dark room. Sleep, Kakuzu. Naruto said sternly and resentfully, realizing that the guy was right. The country of sound. One of Orochimaru's secret hideouts. The dampness and the poisonous smell of something dead pressed on all the sensations. Unbearable cold and fear completely enveloped Deputy Orochimaru, who was frozen on his knees by his master's chair. The deadly silence was driving the already irritated Kabuto crazy, and his hand was unbearably pricking after a collision with team number 7. Afraid to breathe, the guy was thinking about how to get out of the situation, but it only came to mind to accept punishment from Orochimaru-sama. When will they come to their senses? Hissing, speaking only with his lips, the man in the chair finally said, the first application of the seal is too weak, so self-awareness will come in a week. The body will return in a month. You have a week. There will be no Akatsuki in my lair, there will be no you in my assistance. Is that clear? Yes, Orochimaru-sama, swallowing, the guy clenched his fists. And take a 4 to help. Free. As you command. The semi-darkness dominated the spacious room. A quiet breeze stirred the trees outside the window, and the full moon was still brazenly peeking out from behind the curtains. It seemed that sleep should completely envelop the kids that were spread out all over the double bed, but still, not all children gave themselves up to dreaming. One of the boys still couldn't sleep. Something disturbing kept me awake, and a name appeared in my thoughts, Yahiko. This is not my body. The boy convulsively clenched his fists, blood came out from a small palm. Yahiko died. This body, where is mine? What happened? The mind tried to think through all the options, but there were no memories or answers. I Nagato, later became pain. Or is it a dream? My head, this pain. The guy in a wet sweat jumped up and leaned on his hands. In the room, in addition to the quiet snuffling, a heavy cough of the red-haired man was heard. My pain, my purpose. You will pay for this, Orochimaru. You will know the authenticity of the word, pain. The guy caught his breath and looked around. Itachi, yes, leader. When did you come to your senses? There was a scuffle. When I saw my sister. I think because the seal on our hands is weak, removal is the most precious thing for each of us. This is just a theory, Uchiha clarified, rising from the heated seat. I'm late, Pain, aka Nagato, said in disappointment, peering into the darkness. Who else remembers themselves? I think Kakuzu came back to normal in the morning when cleaning, apparently, when he saw the money, Conan at breakfast, when he ate jelly, so jelly is dearer to her than a childhood friend. I'll remember that for you. Maybe Sasori is telling Naruto's fairy tale, but I'm not sure. Although his seal is almost erased, it is impossible to be sure that it is broken yet. Okay. Kakuzu, are you giving up your position and salary in the organization? Being the son of Naruto Uzumaki, the heir of the fourth Hokage, I will get more. A voice was heard somewhere very close, but the leader of the Akatsuki did not even twitch from surprise. Traitor, the redhead yawned. Sasori, Konan, Itachi, for now we need a plan of action. Don't forget that we are still children. So, who has any ideas? Naruto Uzumaki's house. 841, Efki Pavki, said a 5-year-old boy, tearfully thrusting a wounded finger into his mouth. Hearing the words of his son, Naruto smiled, realizing that his partner had practically weaned Haiden from swearing. Carefully bending down to him, he began to pick up the broken plate from the floor. The boy lowered his head guiltily. I didn't want to, I was bitten by Devdava. Deidara wasn't there. Deidara is polite and obedient, said a golden-haired boy, about 4 years old, fingering the hem of his long shirt uncertainly. Deidara, polite, obedient. The heir of the fourth's knowledge said wearily. Deidara is a boy, the child clarified. Yes, Deidara is a boy. Ahaha, Dev talks like a girl, ahaha. Haiden got a light flick on the nose. You shouldn't tease, especially because you're burbling yourself. Take an example from Toby, he is silent and eats gas. Toby, spit out the newspaper. 10:03 The young commander of the Umbu detachment tiredly caught, with 3 clones, a boy with bright green hair who disappeared all the time in the wall, hiding from his father. I want to go to my mom, came from the corridor. Having folded the seals, Naruto was near the prankster with lightning speed that he still did not want to get dressed. We'll get dressed now and go for a walk, we'll meet mom there and, Mom? The boy happily climbed out of the wall and ran into the bedroom. After a few seconds he was already fully dressed. Do not forget to throw on an extra scarf and a rough hat. Zetsu. Uzumaki wanted to say something and even approached his son, but changed his mind when he saw how he happily hid his face in a winter scarf and adjusted his shorts, preparing for a meeting with his mother. Naruto gently stroked the guy's hat. Pain, he called out, gather a team, look for Kisame, he's hiding somewhere to sleep again. Get Toby out of the refrigerator, and Kakuzu out of my safe, find the real Itachi, and don't forget Deidara. And Konan, and I'll find Sasori myself. Yes, the guy paused, as if considering something. Father. It seems I forgot someone else, Uzumaki thought. It's unnaturally quiet. I'll give you freedom. There was a shout from the first floor. Why are you letting everything go free? Naruto ran down with might and main the surroundings of Konoha. 12:41 Summer is in full swing, below 40 degrees, not a cloud anywhere, only the scorching sun and the red-hot earth. All the residents hid in cool houses, afraid to even breathe in the burning and dust-filled air. The plants are almost dry, and the water from the recent puddles has long since evaporated. Here is such a Konoha, the land of fire. If there was no downpour here, then it was definitely stuffy and scorching sun, there was no other weather. But the residents still loved this village and this place, because only here, shouting at all the lungs, I'm a fool, one could hear a rude answer, you're talking nonsense, so carry it, proudly and with dignity. Yuri, a fool from Konoha. Perhaps Konoha was filled with harsh people, but very good. The people who are ready to give their lives for others without regret and many times to restore their destroyed city from a hostile attack deserved respect. Naruto Uzumaki fell in love with such a village. This is the place he dreams of protecting. Even now, the guy could run headlong on a deadly mission, just not to amuse the children, to protect the inhabitants of this beautiful sunny town. The guy sighed wearily, wiping sweat from his forehead on his t-shirt. 10 happy children were running around him. Then, playing catch-up, then throwing a stone. Who's next? By the way, one of the pebbles hit my father's knee. Uzumaki sighed again. A tear rolled down from his left eye. I remembered the carefree old days. Father, don't cry, you're a man, said the little brunette, an exact copy of Naruto's partner. What are you, Itachi? I'm sweating. From the eyes? Well, it happens. This is the first time I've seen sweat from my eyes. You know, father, it looks a little scary. Uzumaki only smiled at this, lifting the brunette and putting him on his shoulder. The pain in my leg disappeared as if by magic. Well, let's go get mom. Yes, Uchiha Clan Estate 1309, I'm coming in. Passing into the partner's house, Naruto said loudly. There was silence in response. Probably offended, we were supposed to be at her place at 9. Are you sure that's what she's offended about? The melancholic Kakuzu asked, already estimating how much the house would cost if it were sold. Kuzya, have you heard the saying, silence is gold, 1,000 yen an hour? Okay, you can speak only without sharpness, please. And if you praise me in front of women, you can count on extra yen in. Uzumaki, I had a better opinion of you. And you turn out to be paying the children. A voice was heard from behind his father, which made the guy sweat even more, and a stupid smile appeared on his lips. Sasuke, that's not it. Naruto abruptly turned around and froze. All the words, thoughts, dreams, and hopes flew out of the blonde's head when he saw his childhood friend. In front of him stood a gorgeous brunette in a beautiful long summer dress. The clothes were refreshing yellow-green colors and more than ever, by the way, suited a young girl, which is intended today, put on a long-abandoned wardrobe accessory. Simple makeup, a little clumsy white manicure on shabby nails, always unruly hair was combed back, visually giving Sasuke growth. The girl was perfect, although a little confused, waiting for the word of her commander. Just don't screw up, the treasurer of the Akatsuki organization, tugging at the sleeve of his stepfather's orange t-shirt. Come to your senses, father. Yeah. Sasuke? You look so cool as a girl. At this, the girl twitched an eye, raised an eyebrow, a loud was heard from her lips. Uchiha turned around and hurried to change out of an uncomfortable dress. Stupid, Uzumaki, I screwed up the second time. Sasuke, that's not what I wanted to say. Wait, is that them? Hiding in the foliage of the trees, the girl with bright pink hair asked. Yes, the commander replied shortly. Then let's go and kill the extra witnesses. Wait, Tayuya, not now. P.F. Sasuke, forgive me. The young guy of 23 years did not get tired of repeating. I'm not offended and I'm not angry, the girl answered with the baby in her arms, who was sweetly snoring on the chest of the mother. The other boy, holding Naruto's hand, was looking at the girl all the time. This boy was Itachi, who in his heart would not mind becoming a family again. Lucky guy, Naruto thought when he saw Zetsu touch the brunette's chest sleepily. The guy turned away resentfully from envy. There was one unimportant, but, nevertheless, well-known legend walking around Konoha. Anyone who accidentally or intentionally touches the chest or ass of the Uchiha heiress was waiting for a terrible, painful, and many thousands of deaths in the illusory world. Few people knew whether it was true or not, because the volunteers did not meet. Perhaps these are evil forces, or maybe the lack of a relationship. But Uzumaki still could not forget the beautiful look of his partner that he had recently had the opportunity to know. Greedily and once again sighing heavily, the young father completely fell apart, but Kisame, who was placed on his father's shoulders, stroked Naruto on the head, from which he almost purred. So Kisame, Haiden, Deidara, Zetsu, and Tobi haven't recovered yet. This is bad, thought Pain, and took the hand of a little girl who was walking next to him. Pain. Conan said sternly. Your hands are sweaty. Well, Conan, I want to grab the handle. The boy turned completely sour, pitifully lowering his head. Deidara also wants a hand. Deidara is cute. However, no one noticed the guy's words and what he said for himself in a woman's face. The golden-haired man sniffed and resentfully kicked a small stone under his feet. If you pay, I'll take your hand, the boy with the incredibly long pigtail, which Sasuke had recently deftly braided, said calmly. After these words, the blonde kid perked up and sincerely smiled, pulling out a handkerchief from his pocket, in which the pancake was wrapped. It will do, Kakuzu replied in an indifferent tone and took Deidara's hand, beaming with excitement, while chewing on the sweet prized. Aaa. Haydn shouted and found himself between the children. Kuzya is mine. With all his might, he threw back Deidara. After a couple of seconds, the boy was already lying on the dirty ground, but in an instant he burst into bitter tears. A loud echo of heavy sobbing and crying swept around. Sasuke and Naruto immediately rushed to the children. The girl immediately picked up and began to calm the bomber. Haydn? Uzumaki asked, looking sternly at his son, but the boy did not hear him. He clenched his teeth and glared at Deidara's tears. He's singing Nazov. The boy answered resentfully, squeezing his little fists harder and harder. Darling, he's your new family, and family should not be insulted. Especially since Kakuzu Mal. Jonan stopped in mid-sentence and narrowed his eyes. Itachi, come here. The brunette immediately followed his father's order. Naruto sat down next to him. My angel, can you produce dozens of clones and make them look like your brothers and sister, and then send them all in different directions? Of course, Dad. My genius. Naruto kissed the boy on the forehead and smiled sincerely. Pain, come here too. As soon as the baby approached his father, they immediately destroyed the mess on his head. The cat, if you decided to give me a baby name, then let it be Sunnied. Okay, honey. I have a super important mission for you. After these words, the boy immediately became animated and looked at his father with interest. I trust you with my family and mom so that you can get them home quickly. Can you handle it? Is that all? No, and also that by my arrival everyone should be fed, washed and put to bed for lunch. And mom, mission accepted and, wait. Sasuke, you cover your tracks, then, immediately after the children. Uchiha Sasuke. The girl said nothing to this and only nodded. The sun slowly set behind fluffy clouds, and the town seemed to breathe a sigh of relief from the unbearable heat, let people out of the gray houses. In the village of the Hidden Leaf, the characteristic noise and bustle began. From a distance, people seemed to be fussy ants, just emerging from an anthill, quickly settling in after stagnation, to get back into the old rut. It was small and inconspicuous that the town from Hokage Mountain seemed, and just here was a new Uzumaki family. Inhaling the native and hot air from the heat, Naruto calmly said, Itachi, Pain, go ahead. White smoke rose up and all the children were covered. From different sides, in the literal sense, children were showered, hurrying where, immediately, the son of the legendary lightning and the bloody habanero folded the seals, and in the blink of an eye, Rasengan was in his hand. As one thinker said, you are either a hammer or a blacksmith. That is, you either hit first or you get hit first. The ninja smiled angrily before a heavy thunderclap rang out over the entire Konoha. The sharp kunai beat against his chest. One of the clones with a pop disappeared as well as it appeared. Swearing, the only girl in the team put down her musical instrument. Tayuya quickly ran between the enemy's clones, trying to figure out the real one. Perhaps everyone will call this girl a lover of endless arguments and covering with mats. Nevertheless, the keeper of the northern gate was quite intelligent and reasonable. And it was she who was instructed by the leader Sakan to find Naruto Uzumaki. From such an order, Kunoichi-san rejoiced, wanting to prove that she was not only strong in words, but also in actions. Ha! Tayuya quickly walked away from the weak clone's blow and hit him back with her foot. Another pop, knit, I found you. Kunoichi mischievously turned the flute in her hands and brought it to her lips. Will there be a last wish? A loud and pleasant melody spread over the clearing and rushed on. All the clones froze, after which they began to explode, but one of them remained frozen. Fat guy. For a couple of seconds, Tayuya was distracted to shout to her partner, not understanding why he did not attack the enemy. This moment was enough for Uzumaki to get close to the shinobi of sound. However, the girl's reaction was not slow either. She caught her opponent's body with her waves again. Jirobo jumped down beside them, flexing his fists. You're fucked. You're not that strong, Naruto Uzumaki, flashed through Taiyuya's thoughts when she saw her partner swing for a blow, but everything went wrong. A colossally strong blow went past Naruto's head and hit the girl, causing her to fly off to the cliff, landing on a rock. Coughing up blood, the girl wanted to grab the flute that was placed next to her, but the musical instrument was crushed before her eyes. Looking up and seeing the culprit, the girl glared at him angrily. "Fat guy, you." The familiar clap sounded again and the commander of the elite team number 7 appeared in front of her. Madness was red in his eyes. The guy smiled and gestured his head back. Taiyuya looked ahead and saw a bound and beaten Jirobo. "When are you?" The girl was not allowed to finish by the Rasengan that appeared in the enemy's hand. For a moment, fear and despair flashed across the face of the keeper of the northern gate, but it would not be Taiyuya if she had given up so easily. After all, it is better for her to accept death than defeat. A smile touched the pale and battered face of the girl when she grabbed the kunai and rushed to Naruto Uzumaki. "Of course it's great, but..." Sasuke Uchiha broke out of the web, releasing her chakra flow, and, in the blink of an eye, she was near Kidamaru. "You are very weak in hand-to-hand combat." A juicy blow to the jaw and the spider-like ninja landed on the ground, showing with his motionless body that he would no longer fight, without having had time to try his demon form. "And you?" the heir of the Uchiha clan asked, looking from the branch at her enemy. "And I'm not such a fool," said the leader and separated his brother from himself, transforming into a demon. Before the eyes of the strongest Kunoichi Konoha, 2 horned demons appeared, as Sasuke dubbed herself "This is already much better." Sharingan appeared in the eyes. "Where are mom and dad?" Kisame cried, who was forcibly pulled by the hand of the leader of the children's team, Pain. "I want to daddy. Shut up." "Itachi, what distance is he at?" The redhead barked and picked up his pace. "Not only is he not lagging behind, but he is rapidly approaching. In 3 minutes it will overtake." The boy spoke calmly, but still there was a note of fear in his voice, because even with a 10-on-1 scenario, they are still children. "Gentleman Akatsuki, let's talk." A shinobi of sound appeared from nowhere. All the children stopped and stared shockingly at the gray-haired adult guy. From the sudden appearance of Deidara, he screamed and began to cry. The leader looked back at Uchiha. "I didn't count well at 4, the brunette nevertheless justified himself, shrugging his shoulders. "My name is..." "Shut your mouth, Kabuto. I don't want to listen to the nit who did this to my team." "Remembered." "But, still, I told you to shut your mouth, too, Deidara." The golden-haired guy froze, compressed his lips, but stopped crying. "Tell Orochimaru, as soon as the seal is dispelled, he, like your country, will come to an end." "I can remove the seal without Orochimaru-sama's knowledge," the ninja of sound cautiously said. "I don't believe that it will be profitable for you," Pain said, not even noticing that he did not allow the guy to speak. "Shinobi like Akatsuki should not be left on the enemy lists. I offer a deal. I remove the seal, and you destroy Konoha and take it from Naruto Uzumaki is his demon." Kabuto's face turned a shade of white, and his palms were sweating. Although there are children in front of him, they are still the strongest geniuses of their clans. "This is what we planned to do from the very beginning. But now," he thought. "Okay. But if I notice treachery in your intentions, I will kill you." "Of course, Mr. Pain," the guy sighed with relief. "And now let's hurry." "Naruto, not now." Sasuke, examining the area, the concentrated commander rapped out. Attentive green eyes looked at him. The owner of these eyes, namely Haruno Saku, turned his gaze to his partner, who became sad for a moment. Although not knowing what happened, but realizing that it was important, the guy tiredly put the package on the counter. But he just wanted to go to the ice cream shop, when suddenly his friends appeared out of nowhere. "I hope it's not against the rules," the guy sighed, "otherwise I just wrote a report that I will no longer act against the law of the fiery country." Sakura looked at his comrades again and understood his position from the averted gaze. "Well, one less report, one more report." So where to? I'm coming back. The guy exclaimed, are you crazy? Both of us, he added, we can't attack the land of sound with the whole army, but only the three of us can go. P.F. Haruno no longer understood what to add, because he knew the commander and Sasuke's stubborn character well. Explain to me, please, again, your plan. Duh. We quietly go in and out with the children, the future, possibly, answered Hokage. There? The medic gestured to a small entrance under the ground. Yes, it will be quick. Duh. Is it okay that there are guards there? What is the country of sound with which we have a war? That we are going to save Akatsuki, our enemies, and that I walked through the forest in slippers for 2 days? He asked ironically. The partners looked at his feet, and as the guy said, he was wearing red slippers. Confused and tired, the owner of an explosive character raised his leg, showing his wounded feet. I'm also hungry. And just dare to say that I'm capricious. And I want to write, Uzumaki admitted to himself. My eyes are itching and my shoes are full of water. Uchiha supported the company. Alright, but if we all die, I won't forgive you, of course. Sakura participated in many battles, but only this made him slow down the outside world with euphoria and enjoy the present. His eyes ached tirelessly from the pitch darkness, his nose and sixth sense suggested opponents, as if at random, so most of the blows went into the unknown. Not feeling pain, but only anger and fatigue, the young heir of knowledge of the fifth again punched a huge hole in the wall, missing a colorful light in the room. Giant monsters and incomprehensible half-humans appeared in front of him. It was better without the light, he noted dejectedly, as he kicked his slipper into the mouth of one of the enemies rushing to meet him. Choking on a slipper, the failed experiment fell, preventing other monsters from reaching the green-eyed shinobi. However, one of the Justice League of the Naruto group did not want this. In the pitch darkness, Haruno's fingers crunched, and in a second, a large, smelly carcass of the enemy was lifted and thrown at the other attackers. Sakura didn't even think that there might be his own. His own, namely Naruto Uzumaki, seeing the corpses flying into him, used Rasengan. Smoke filled the stuffy room. Kaka, coughed the only girl in the team and pressed her long sleeve to her mouth. Looking back, she noticed a narrow door, but in front of her stood the last living enemy. The only one who looked even a little like a human. And if the last one means the strongest. The heiress of the Fan clan folded the seals, the eyes began to change, and the black tomo diverged to the sides. However, before the seal was completed, the enemy was blown apart by a powerful blow from 10 clones. In the pile of dust on the enemy, a golden head of hair appeared that sparkled in the dim light. This is not the main battle yet, Sasuke. Save your strength. It sounded indifferent and cold, but still the commander was worried about his partner. He remembered what happened during the last use of this strange Sharingan, which the girl took from Danzo when she found out that he used her clan to build up his strength. Sometimes Sasuke Uchiha was too playful with her victims, especially when the enemy was strong. Remembering the battle with the head of the root, Naruto recalled the incident that happened recently. 2 days ago. Barely alive, Sakon was hiding behind one of the trees in the forest of death. Realizing that his brother could not be saved and everything he knew about Sasuke Uchiha was a lie, the guy grabbed his hand. The pain made it impossible to concentrate, and the migraine made it impossible to hide the chakra. This was of course his last chance to stay alive, but he knew perfectly well that the enemy was playing with him, and that he was like a mouse in a trap that was waiting for its end. And in the best case, instant, with thoughts about the plan, he was literally pulled out by the hair. The silver strands were clasped in a delicate, milk-colored hand. The girl emerged from the tree, firmly grasping the enemy commander. Sakon realized that he had been in an illusion all this time. The scarlet eyes seemed to scorch and make you clench, the indifferent face for some reason seemed to be mocking, and Sasuke's beauty was frightening. The enemy has never seemed so terrible. I wanted to scream, but my voice seemed to have disappeared. So will I hear the answer? The moon swept the terrain, it seemed that blood was pouring from the ears. Sakan closed his eyes. Why do you need Akatsukis in the role of children? I don't like to repeat myself. The guy's legs were wrapped around living rods with spikes. The guy understood that it was an illusion, but the pain was still real and unbearable. Sasuke, it was heard somewhere detached, and the spy of team number 7 was distracted by looking into the distance. After a moment, the eyes acquired a normal black luster. The gray-haired man fell to the ground. The forest began to change and dissolve, the sky became the usual blue color, and the red grass turned green. The illusion was removed. Sasuke, what did I order you to do? An angry blonde man stood on the young grass and looked sternly at his partner, which made the girl look around guiltily. Their chakra was not felt, which means that they are no longer in the village. Uchiha started playing. Naruto, follow me, we need to find Sakura now. Concurrently, the mother of the new Akatsuki, Sasuke, ran second, after the commander, glancing at a friend from time to time. The guilt was eating away at her, festering her wounds, binding her with wet salt-soaked bandages. For her inattention and the fact that she let her beloved down. The girl tried to throw the latter out of her head. Uchiha would give anything to return that terrible day and go after the children, or even better, to return the day when she was just born, so as not to become an Uchiha. But she does not have the right to do this, and even more so the opportunities. Noticing how bad his partner was, Sakura caught up with her and grabbed her hand. Kakashi's student looked at him with a question. The green-eyed man winked and smiled brightly, which made Sasuke snort and pull his hand away. The girl was grateful to her friend for distracting her from gloomy thoughts, but her temperament did not give her a reason to become softer. The medic rejoiced in his victory, because to see a healthy gleam in the black eyes of his beloved could not but rejoice. However, the joy on Haruno's face did not last long. As soon as they entered the large hall, the whole team froze. In front of them were already adult Akatsukis. No, Naruto only managed to whisper, stepping back. Please, no. Capture the 9 tails, Pain said callously. Haiden and Kakuzu rushed to the petrified owner of the Kubi. But Uzumaki's teammates took the hit on themselves, distracting them. And it didn't help, the guy kept looking at his children and couldn't believe that his family, which he had dreamed of for so long, was no more. Pain came out of the hoarse throat again. What? Please come back. Don't be stupid, it was a moment and it won't happen again. Was it really only I who considered you my family? Tears poured down her cheeks by themselves. On the red-haired man was silent for a couple of seconds, his eyes somehow saddened, as if they remembered, but only for a couple of seconds. The look was filled with cruelty and confidence again. Sasori, Daddy, a child's voice shouted. A 4-year-old boy ran out from behind Pain and, as if his life depended on it, rushed to Uzumaki. Falling to his knees, the son of the 4th Hokage grabbed the boy in his arms. Kisame, my fish, Naruto cried quite bitterly. Thank God. In a strong and fatherly embrace, the 7-year-old himself began to cry, burying his nose in an orange cape that smelled of sweets and ramen. The fight between Akatsuki and team number 7 stopped. Everyone was looking at the reunion of the family. Sorry, I didn't have time, Kabuto said, feeling guilty for Kisame. Nothing, let him at least say goodbye, Pain barely said, looking away. Kabuto, sorry to interrupt, but can I join your company? Orochimaru came out of the shadows. A shiny drop fell from the ceiling and landed in a small puddle. Silence. An unnatural, vile, heavy silence that drove one crazy and did not allow anyone to move. It seemed that his head was about to burst from the flow of thoughts and from this silence, but bitter words still escaped from Naruto's lips. I'll forgive everything. We will run away from these rules and villages. Crystal and cold tears flowed from the sky, blue eyes, which seemed to have become even deeper. Naruto tried to pull himself together, but the thought that he would never see his children was killing him. Please come back. Quietly, Sasuke approached Uzumaki from behind. She put her hand on her partner's shoulder and squeezed it. Forgetting that she had just fought, that they were in the middle of a battle and that her enemies were opposite, Uchiha knelt down and hugged her commander, burying her face in the strong, big back of her friend. No, she wasn't crying, angry, or begging. From her bitten, scarlet lips only escaped, "I'm sorry." Naruto pressed Kisame closer to him and looked at the ceiling, where a drop was just about to fall. A dream, it's just a dream. Now he will wake up alone in a cold big bed, get up and go down to the first floor. His soft footsteps will pass by the moon in an empty house. He will say good morning and open the window in the kitchen, looking at the silhouettes of all the Hokage on the mountain, and smile bitterly. All his life he dreamed that his face would be there, so as not to be lonely, so that he could walk the street and understand that in the eyes of the inhabitants there is not fear and hatred, but hope and respect, the need for him. The guy with the demon inside. And this is all a dream, these days, these conversations, children, after all, how can great Akatsuki become children? Sasuke cuddle up to him, and the little killer hug him so tenderly. Nonsense, this is all nonsense. The blonde man screamed, which made everyone seem to wake up. I just want not to be lonely. Am I asking too much? The guy shifted his gaze to the leader of the Akatsuki organization. Am I, what, an egoist? The moon passed into the room through the window. Answer me, Pain. You're crazy, he answered him with contempt, coldly. It's so funny, a smile appeared on the white face. It was not even hidden by long hair. Orochimaru pressed his finger to his face. Oh, I'm sorry, did I interrupt the family reunion? He asked with mock pity. No, what are you? The red-haired man shifted his gaze and looked indifferently at the snake. I'm glad to see you, because, then, I can do this. Raising his hand, Pain directed it at Sannin. Difficult seals were easily folded. Iron bars came out of nowhere, which would have pierced Orochimaru's fragile body just a little more. However, he, as befits Sannin, dodged, though with difficulty, jumped back. Itachi, do it. The order was clear, strict. Yes, as always briefly heard from Uchiha Sr., who dissolved into 1,000 black feathers. In the room, bloody symbols began to be created on the walls. I'm so grateful to you because you showed up, because then I don't need to follow you. Pain's voice was cold but stern. It was felt that he had wanted this for a long time. What are you? Orochimaru wanted to get up, but for some reason he couldn't. He looked at each other and saw that his body was wrapped in transparent, chakra-filled threads. They led to the iron bars. You're not. The ruler of the land of sound stopped when there was a bang in the room and little Sasori stood instead of Pain. What's going on? I finished it anyway. There was more clapping in the room. All the Akatsuki became children again, and Kabuto turned into a little red-haired boy, realizing his position and the fact that the subordinate is probably already dead. Orochimaru grinned. The threads began to break. Done, said little Itachi, forming from the feathers back into himself. Sannin tensed up and began to release the chakra even more strongly in order to break the threads with it, but his strength seemed to have left him. Before we leave, Pain slowly approached Orochimaru, sat down. We have blocked the entire chakra and skill. There's only one jutsu left that works here, and it's not yours. The little face was filled with childish joy. No one will ever be able to deceive Akatsuki and go unpunished. Nothing personal. Wait, the owner of this cave shouted when he saw Pain leaving. The hero saviors who came to save the children looked at what was happening in bewilderment. The fastest one who came to his senses was Sakura. He had already come up with a bunch of questions, as a small, blonde-haired boy grabbed his hand and looked carefully with his purple eyes. Fuck it, you little dude. I don't. He didn't have time to say, as he felt the ground go away under his feet, and he was falling somewhere. A tremor burned through his body, his eyes darkened, and an unpleasant and low sound was heard in his ears, which made Haruno grimace. However, as it seemed to him, the warm little hand that squeezed his hand did not let him faint. The room almost dissolved before his eyes, as Sakura heard, Deidara, under mine. The bright rays of the just setting golden sun hit my eyes, and the sky gave up, filled with all the colors of the rainbow. grass felt under my feet. He was standing on a cliff, a dense forest stretched ahead. Haruno looked around with a question on his face, then looked at his feet. He was standing on the pleasantly cold, to the touch grass. Oh, yes, I lost one slipper in the cave. The green-eyed man smiled and looked at the boy who was holding his hand. What are you, pedophile? Why are children dodging like that? Said a defenseless, at first glance, 4-year-old boy and pulled out his fragile hand. What did you say, little one? He couldn't stand it and screamed. However, in a second I remembered everything. What is going on at all? All shouting, and Sasuke-chan, he already moaned when he saw how the girl was still hugging the commander. Uchiha looked back at this, then glanced at Naruto, was horrified. Bouncing back as if she had touched something hot, Sasuke blushed slightly and coughed. Only the shocked future Hokage mumbled. At this sound, Kisame raised his tear-stained gaze. Pain said that Daddy would come and take us home, and I was waiting, the boy said a little uncertainly and wiped his snot with his sleeve. And he drew, showing the seal on his neck. The 7-year-old scratched another red mark. Listen here, I'll be brief, said Ginger and squatted down next to Naruto. The seals that were teleported from Orochimaru's lair around our necks, he himself is already resting underground. We'll stay with you until Tobi, Kisame, Haiden and Zetsu come to their senses. So until that time comes, be a good daddy. And then, you don't need to know, and yet, without letting his new, old, son finish, Uzumaki pulled the serious boy to him and hugged him. At first, Pain resisted but then relaxed and allowed himself a little affection and weakness. But then he smiled angrily. Daddy's hugs. At this cry, all the children came running and started hugging happy Naruto. From these actions, the young father fell to the ground, laughing merrily. Noticing the hole in these tight hugs, the redhead managed to sneak away and run away from the madhouse of happiness. Still laughing, Uzumaki raised his head up. You know, Sasuke, we need more women in our family team. Such a bright and pleasant smile that Uchiha was now ready to say yes to any proposal. Will you look in on us? Dabi, the brunette said sheepishly and looked away. She, of course, expected other words, but hearing these from the commander also made her happy. So, stop, I'm the only one wondering, why are Akatsuki children? What did the deceased Orochimaru have in mind? Where is Kabuto, and when did you come up with the plan? And, in general, how did it all work out? Yusakura began a nervous tic. The eye itself began to twitch, his hands clenched into fists, and a wreath came out on his temples, showing that he was about to explode with anger. Don't be boring and don't spoil the moment. Pain said sternly, studying the distance of the forest where the smoke was visible. It could be assumed that the lair of the legendary Sannin was located there. Putting his hands behind his back, the boy stretched, banishing fatigue. You have to be cheerful, because there is so much to do. Find out why his consciousness is in the body of Pain, awaken all members of the Akatsuki organization from the seal and remove it and restore the Akatsuki team and their former greatness. A lot of work, however, it will wait. In the meantime, you can play family. Change your life a little, because nothing terrible will happen if you live like a person, and not like a killer. That's the end of it, guys.